Hey, it's Money Monday. And of course, I'm your host, Shawnee Curry. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and give you some money, honey. It's a Monday. So you got to start that week feeling richer. You got to start that week feeling better about your money. Okay, so as we close out Women's History Month, it has been really great. We had the opportunity to talk about Bitcoin. We talked about using life insurance as a tool for investing. We're talking about improving your credit score. And now this week, we're going to talk about something that everybody likes to talk about, but they don't like to talk about it. Their student loan debt. So drop those money bags in the comment section if you have to take some breaths when you think about your student loan debt. Just drop them in the comment section, okay? So, of course, today I'm not going to be having this conversation by myself. I'm actually going to be having it with one of my millionaire boss babes. I at least have her with us on Person Empowerment TV at least every quarter, just because she just has tons of resources when it comes to real estate, when it comes to buying property and using them to create a legacy and transferring it over to your children. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome her over to the screen. It's my boss babe, Claudienne. Hey, girl, hey.
How are you?
I'm better now. I'm better. I just had to move over a little bit. This screen is so weird. Like it goes like, chick, chick, like this. If you want to, can you see the chat, Claudia? And if you want to hit the chat, you can share it on your link if you want to. If you want to share that on your Facebook page, you can.
Okay, hold on.
All right, while Claudia goes ahead and shares that with you, for those of you that have any questions regarding started student loans, okay, start dealing with your student loan debt, or if you have any specific questions about getting started with real estate investing. While Claudia go ahead and share that out, I'm going to share some stats with you. Just so that you see what's going on with student loan debt, just so that you know. So I put together 5 reasons why you really should consider real estate investing as a way to pay off your student loan debt. Okay, so let's look at number 1. All right, so number 1, student loan debt is the second highest consumer debt category. What's only outweighs it is going to be mortgage debt, and then credit card debts, and then your car loans. All right, next fact, let's look at the next fact. All right, so 45 million borrowers collectively owe nearly $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. $1.7 trillion. All right, what is this one? Oh, okay, so what's interesting about this one is that 39,802 Generation X outpaces every other generation when it comes to student loan debt. So all of the other generations, Generation X is going to count them out in terms of how much student loan debt they actually have accrued. The 4th reason why you want to think about finding some other ways is, nope, we saw that one again. Let's go to the last one. All right, so federal student loan payments have been paused for 8 months through September the 30th. They're probably going to change that again, and it places millions of borrowers in forbearance, okay? That last fact, we can get rid of those, Natasha, thank you. That last fact is probably the one that Claudienne is probably going to enjoy focusing on the most, simply because right now, if you definitely have government loans, then definitely you can take advantage of it being frozen, and then you can continue to pay your student loan debts and having the opportunity where that interest is being accrued. That's certainly what I've been doing. Okay, and then Claudienne is probably gonna like that one, is because she's gonna share a whole bunch of tools when it comes to using other ways to eliminate your student loan debt. So we can go ahead and get rid of those slides, Natasha. Thank you so much. Is Claudienne back with us? All right, so you can remove that screen, Natasha. Number 5, we're done. You can just bring me back. I think you kind of lost me a bit. Natasha, it seems like I'm here just frozen. Am I frozen? I look real frozen here.
Can you hear me, Shawnee?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, I'm here. I can see myself.
You can see yourself.
I
Okay.
see you, I see me.
Okay, Natasha, can you help her out so that she can go ahead? Because we can't see anybody.
Yeah, I think you might have to go out and come back in.
Okay.
She's fine.
Okay.
So do
All
I
right,
go
well,
back?
Claudienne, I'm going to go out and come back in. You can go ahead and just share a little bit about your journey in real estate and just talk a little bit about your thoughts and perspective on student loans, okay? And then I'll be right back. I'm going to log out, come back in.
All righty. Uh-oh, I'm getting a glare from the sun. Give me 1 minute. Natasha, give me 1 minute. Is that better? Can you hear me, Natasha?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, there we go. All right, we're getting through those tech difficulties. They're small. All right, so Claudienne, before I left, I was talking about some of those stats about student loans, and what's so super cool is that right now, if you have public student loans, then you have the opportunity to pay your student loans without it accruing any interest. So basically, any payments that you make towards your student loans right now is going to go directly towards the principal. Okay, so for those of us that have student loan debts, if they're public, that is a bit of an advantage, and they're going to be frozen until September. It's likely that they're going to extend that. But for now, I think for those of us that have access to cash and can use some of these growth strategies that you're sharing tonight, is that some of us can, greatly reduce our student loans as well as eliminate them altogether. So you have a perspective about student loans. Let's talk a little bit about your, I think, and we sometimes we argue, but I think your student loan perspective, I think we really agree on. So let's start there. Let's talk about your student loan perspective.
Now, Shawnee, I feel like you're breaking up.
Okay, can you hear me though?
It's very choppy on your side.
Really? Okay.
But go ahead, ask the questions. I'm ready to go.
Okay, perfect. So I asked you about your perspective on student loans.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you need a student loan, I don't believe that you should not go to college because you cannot afford it. I think you should do things in moderation. I think that you should definitely have a plan. Shawnee, can you come back to the screen?
I'm right here.
Don't move.
Okay.
Because you mess up my screen when you move. All right, perfect. So, I mean, there's just so many different perspectives. I really don't believe. So there's two pieces of me, because I believe in what we believe. We will become, right? I believe in that thought process. Stay and pay to be where it is you want it to be. However, I do not believe you should go and spend out-of-state tuition to be making $38,000 a year. To me, that is a bad investment. Okay, so I think we need to educate our children on what it is that they want, and we're probably going to get into this, so I don't want to really get into it.
You're good.
Well, my son had an investment account, which was not traditional. He had a whole life policy from the age of 2 or 4, I can't remember, that he did not have to touch because mommy was on him in his schoolwork. So not only did he have over 4-point-something GPA, he also had an athletic ability. He played basketball. So he actually had a choice to go to school for education. He had a choice to go to school and play sports. And so he chose sports. But the beautiful thing about it is that he went for free. He also took his scholarship and started his master's program. And so when we look at that, he was an out-of-state student. He would always say, "Ma, this is a business. They're robbing these kids. They're going to come out with all this student debt and no job." And I said, "You're right, but you stay because yours is free." And so I have a lot of different perspectives, and I be honest with you, it depends on who I'm talking to, their mindset, what they want to do when they grow up, right? That's why we go to school, so that we could learn a skill, right? Or get a certificate, or become a doctor, get a license, and we become productive working citizens. That's what you'd like to think, right? Or you go and you become an entrepreneur. Whatever the case may be, it just needs to make sense.
Totally. Can you see me or hear me?
I can hear
Can
you.
you hear me at least? This audio is crazy today. Okay, so I know you were saying what it is that you were saying in terms of, are you hearing me or is it chop, chop, chop?
I hear you well.
Okay, good. All right, so I heard what it is that you were saying as it relates to, it really depends on what the person is talking about. You gave a couple of strategies as it relates to your own son and how he avoided that student loan trap, right? But when we look at some of those statistics that you start talking about as a nation, we owe $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. We know that most people minimally have some level of student loan debt. So whenever it is that we typically have this conversation, we try to have it in a way where, okay, because sometimes people will allow it to stop them from getting into home ownership, like it'll let them, it'll stop them, because oftentimes when I'm working with my clients, they haven't, they'll just like, they don't treat it like it's student loan debt. In their mind, it's like a grant. Like, to them, it's like free money. Like, to them, it's like, oh, I don't have to pay it. Like they really treat it like that. Yeah, they do. Like, they don't treat it like it's real debt. It's like, it's not real debt to them. But you and I both know from the space of home ownership, that is going to be a huge challenge when it comes to just trying to get into the game of, owning a property, be it, a property that you own, for personal use, or if it's one that you're going to use for investing. So I always like to have this show at least once a year to kind of, get people to kind of flush out their thoughts and their perspective about student loan debt. Like, it's real debt. Sometimes people come to me and they say, Shani, can we get rid of this debt? And I know that there are some promises that people make in terms of, oh yeah, I can remove this student loan debt. But legally, the only way to remove that student loan debt is if there's a bona fide error, meaning the balance, the cost, the date, those amounts are errors, which are, not likely. And the school that you attended actually lost their accreditation. Those are the only two ways to legally have them removed from your credit report if your school lost their accreditation. And there are a few, when you think about it, I saw your eyes go up like, yeah, I could think of some of those online universities that closed down and lost their accreditation, people going to get nursing degrees, at an online school, all that kind of stuff, So yes, they can have those things removed. But when we think about trillions of dollars, Generation X leading when it comes to generations, when it comes to accounting for student loan debt, most people have it. Most people have it. So you talk about there. So that was actually one of the questions that we got, is that which do I pay first? Do I try to get into a house, or should I start tackling my student loan debt? And I know you and I have an opinion about that, so I'll let you share your perspective. So the question was,
a choice.
Got it.
Why can't you pay your student loans like you promised to pay and buy a house?
I think oftentimes because the balances are huge. So sometimes when I'm working with my clients, some of my clients minimally have $40,000 in student loan debt that can go all the way up to maybe $150,000 in student loan debt. So oftentimes their student loan debt is going to compete with, their DTI, their ability to actually, get down that debt to even be looked at as credit worthy, because in some regards, they already have a house in terms of lending. When you look at your student loans debts, that's, it's like $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 in student loan debt. So they're kind of looking for some ways to kind of get out of this. Should I just put, purchasing a house at the back burner, or should I just focus on getting rid of this student loan debt?
So I got two things I want to say. We should never put ourselves in a position where we have to choose. There are people with school loans that buy houses. There are people who have low debt or high debt, but they have income. So this thing about we can't buy a house because we have student loans is something that they teach us. It is not true. Do you know how many people that I've serviced with school loans, guess what? They just made better decisions. They got jobs that support their school loans. So guess what? Now their debt seems to be here, but their income, you can't even see it off the screen. So it's no longer a deciding factor. So I want to start there.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that are tuning in, you have children, okay? You don't have money yourself to send them to school. They're not making, you need to make straight A's to go to school. There are scholarships where you can get perfect attendance scholarships. There's so many scholarships, but people don't want to do the work, especially our people. So guess what? They're not educated. So now they go into these universities and they're taking all of these school loans, right? So the first thing I want to make sure is that we shouldn't even be in a position where we have to decide. If you're going to college, the whole reason is for you to elevate. And if you're going there, you're not elevating and you're doing this, there's a problem. So we got to fix that.
Yeah, Claudienne, but the only thing with this particular conversation is most of the people that we're talking to are, it's great if we can save someone who's
part one. That was just
okay. Mm-hmm.
Now, I do not believe you should pay off something. First of all, most school loans come with very low interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't believe people should pay off bad debt that's not income producing to then go and buy a house. I don't believe that. I don't even believe your first house should be your house that you live in. If that's your prerogative, then great. If you got billions.
Let's talk about more of that, because that's one of your favorite philosophies. So let's talk about that philosophy. That's one of my favorites.
Right. So I'm getting into it. So, I do not believe, and it just is what it is. I believe you should buy an income producing asset or some type of business that's going to formulate some cash flow. Other than, you got to remember, the reason why you can't get in the darn house in the first place is because you got too much debt, not enough income. Hello, people, are you listening? Okay. The reason why you can't get in the house in the first place, I'm going to repeat it again, because you have too much debt and not enough income. So I believe that you should spend your time finding an income producing activity to allow yourself the finances to buy your house. And I'll give you a good example, Shawnee. I had no school debt. Okay. I had no debt, coming out of school. I had a few credit card bills that I needed to clean up. I did that on my own. Okay. I didn't have a person empowerment, Shawnee, saying I can come clean up your credit and do your finances. I bought a duplex. After that, I bought another duplex. My third property was a 4-unit building. I created income to support the house that I live in, which is truly a debt. Truly. Mm-hmm. I got to pay the pool. I got to cut the palm trees. The pool pump break, that's $500. I got to cut the grass every 2 weeks. The pool has to get cleaned. My house has to get cleaned. The roof has to be cleaned. It has to be replaced. Appliances break. I can't call the landlord anymore. My house is really, while I'm living in it, a debt. So what I did was create income to support my lifestyle, right? And so, and then too, you're probably gonna ask me this next. This is maybe not the market that you're gonna be able to capitalize on because the prices are so high. So you just need to relax a little bit if this is you, okay? If this is you and you can't take advantage of the low interest rates because you decided to go to school and get all these school loans, because you wanted to go to the HBCU over there at Howard and come back and make $38,000, that's your decision. That is you see, I wanted to go to FAMU. I wanted to be a rattler because that was my identity. I graduated from Carroll City Senior High. But see, when they did not respond with an award letter, with a scholarship offer, I decided to go to UF because they were giving me a full ride to go for free. Do you know when I got my award letter from FAM? The second semester of me being in college, I made a decision. I was not going to wait. I went where it was free. Okay? So, that's just my philosophy.
I think, we had a few questions, but in your little spiel, I think you just answered every single question that we had. So let me just go through the questions because in your little spiel, you knocked them out. All right. So Dana wanted to know, is it still possible to invest in real estate with little to no money down? She wants to know.
Absolutely. I bought my first property at the age of 21. Nothing has changed in terms of the process. Now, I will be honest with you. Back then, you could state your income and state your assets, and it was really easy to get into a property. It's still the same process, though, right? So if you are working and you have great scores, right, a 660 or above, listen, the higher the score, the lower the interest rate. Write that down. The higher the score, the lower the interest rate. Okay. So if you have, repeat that question again, Shawnee.
Oh, is it still possible to invest in real estate with little to no money down?
Yes. I got into my first property with an FHA mortgage, 3.5% down. The seller paid my closing cost. So I bought a property for $150,000. You do the calculation. I got into that property for a little less than $6,000. That's little to no money down. You can also get into, listen, if you're in Florida, right? Miami Gardens has grants, $20,000 grant opportunities. Broward County has up to $40,000 grant opportunities. Yes, and you can get into a house with 1% down. Some of those grants come with the criteria that you must use 1% of your own funds. So if you're buying a $300,000 house, then you need to go to spend $3,000. Guys, that's little to no money.
Mm-hmm. That's essentially what you would have to pay to move into a rental. That'd be like your first and your last.
No, if you're going to a rental and it's private, you're first, last, and security. And
if
don't let it be HOA, because now you got to pay the HOA deposit.
Right. Yeah, especially if you go private. If you go private, for sure, that would exceed it. Okay, so I was going to ask you another question, but it lost. Oh, they want to know. Okay, hold on. This one is Keisha. Can I even qualify for a mortgage when I have such huge student loan debt? Can I even qualify for a mortgage?
The answer is I don't know, because I have to look at the overall picture. I have to look at the overall resume. How much money are you making? How much debt are you paying out? How much money are you making? And how much debt are you paying out? That is the formula. You know, right. That is a very hard question to answer on such a large platform, because I don't want to answer that question and then I'm wrong because I have not seen all the pieces to the puzzle.
Right. There's so many factors that can really even, consider, because the biggest thing is going to be your debt to income ratio, so that can't be figured out, in this space right here. I was going to go back to that other question that you were talking about. Okay, so even in this market, Claudienne, you're seeing people be able to get into properties, because right now, South Florida is where people are moving to amid the pandemic. Like Texas is number one and South Florida is second. So that means our real estate market is crazy, right? So say that again.
Real estate is crazy everywhere in the world.
Yes, but we have even more impacts because people are moving here. 241,000 people moved here last year. So supply and demand is definitely a very interesting ratio at this time. So what type of tips would you give to people if they live here in South Florida and they still want to be able to, purchase a property as an investor? Like what does that kind of step-by-step guide look like?
It doesn't deviate, and it could be different. I use a lot of hard money lending, right? You can only get so many loans from the bank. So I do a lot of hard money lending. I do.
Has that become more popular now? Hard money lending has become more popular now, or not more popular than usual?
You got 30% down. You go to your hard money lender. You're going to pay 12% interest rate. But if it's a split, if it's a flip, then you have to just be strategic and making sure the numbers work, because it's high interest. You're looking at 12%. It's a lot of money. You don't even pay principal. It's a balloon loan. It's a very ugly loan, but you use it to strategize.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many things. Like I said, credit is going to be, if you're financing, you need credit, you need income, and you need low debt. If you want to get into a partnership with an investment group, I've worked with several investment groups where one person was able to, just think about the pie for a second. One person was able to give $1,000 a month. This person gave $200 a month. This person gave $500 a month. This person could afford $400. And for the year, they committed on paper, stamped, approved, recorded. Okay. They created their business name, got their EIN tax ID number, EIN number, and began to run a business. It was an investment group, and they all took portions of the pie, right? So if somebody gave $12,000, they would take their percentage of the pie of the profits of the flip. And I've seen, and I want to share this with you guys because this is really good. Every year in December, you have the opportunity to cash out. You do not have to roll into the next year in this particular investment group. Well, one person left the investment group because she had an opportunity to seal a $3 million federal contract for 1 year. So her $400 for the year, a couple of flips, she was able to have reserves while she formulates this $3 million over here. That's a big deal. That's a game changer.
That's a huge deal. So what happened to her spot? Did she just pay the money? Did she leave? What happened?
She was able. So once a year, you're able to either decide.
So she just left. At that time she left the group.
Her draw and her earnings out.
Okay, got it. Okay, so I'm going to draw down on some of your tips and try to summarize it. And if I miss out anything, you let me know. So the first tip that you shared is that if you have children, because obviously if you're already inside of the student loan debt equation, you can only get out of it by paying it off. That's it. That's all you got at this point. Or sit around and wait for the government to make a change, that there's always that, right? So that was the first tip that you gave. The second tip is really what you're generally giving is for people to start thinking out of the box, because if you approach debt from a very conventional way, I have debt, I'm gonna pay it, I may pay it. If you keep that perspective on, then likely you're just going to remain in the rat race, right? However, if you start thinking a little bit different about how to change your income equation, there are some things that you can do, right? Think about changing your income equation, whether if you get a better paying job or if you start a business. Then you start talking about some other ways to gain access to money. You talked about hard money loans as a possibility. Don't just think only about standard financing. You also talked about doing some researching so that you can go and be a part of an investment group so that maybe you don't have to come up with all of the money. Your job would just be coming up portions of the money, honey. Yes?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you're looking to buy, if you are in a position to buy, do not buy your first house to live in it. You will find yourself, especially if you're on limited income, and limited means you have a salary, right? You go to work 8 to 5 or whenever you go to work, and you get paid every 2 weeks. Nothing's going to change. You're going to get that, whatever you get every 2 weeks. I would strongly encourage you to buy a duplex first. Start small. Don't live in Florida and try to go to Texas, okay? Master the skill in front of you because it can be overwhelming. You don't know people in that state. I'm just giving you this as an example. Things may happen. You're not there. You're not able to fly there. The management company's not doing what they're supposed to do. It's a little bit different when you start in your own backyard.
Okay. So your recommendation is to start locally, even all while it may be more cost effective to buy in another market, because some other markets, they're not like at the top, the top in terms of the cost to purchase a property. They're not there. Okay. So you would recommend, so think about that cost availability, because maybe you can't get in the game here, but you can get in the game somewhere else where it's a lot cheaper. You're going to say, based on your experience, you would say, no, don't do that. Try to invest locally if it's your first property. Can you expand a little bit on that?
You just said it. Remember, this is your first property. You're already having anxiety because, you're buying your first property, right? And so you don't want and let me tell you, being a landlord is not always easy and simple either. You're gonna have great tenants and you're gonna have poor tenants, right? I've been blessed to have very great tenants, and I have to say this, I don't have a lot of, like, people aren't getting their rent. Nobody's missed their rent from me the whole time. Why? Most of my tenants are Section 8 tenants. They're good Section 8 tenants. You have Section 8 tenants that go to work every day. You have Section 8 tenants that have retired, that they're older and they don't pay any money a month. And so definitely, I would just caution you. I'm not saying that you can't. You better learn that market and understand. Don't think because you live here in Miami and the property is 200,000 and that property might be 100, right? Especially if you're flipping property, you might get in low, but those percentages should be the same. Markets don't collapse. Like, it's not high in Florida and low in Texas or in New York. It's typically high everywhere. Everybody I hear that I coach and that I speak with is saying the same thing. I've submitted my 20th offer. I still do not have a signed executed contract, right? That's not just Florida, right? People are moving here because we don't have any state taxes. You got to think about that stuff, right? The cost of living here is not as expensive as it is in some of these other states. So I would just caution you, but if you think that you have the willpower, then you go for it.
No, I understand it. And mostly I understand it because I understand your optimism, and normally you'll say go for it. But the fact that you actually have a drawback is very interesting. But I can see how you would give that as a clause. You're not necessarily saying, hey, it can't be done, because we all know anything can be done, but the probability of it being very streamlined, for it to be your first property, is probably not going to be easy. So you're saying the money that you're basically going to, think in your mind you're going to save, you could essentially end up spending it, with anxiety, having to travel back there, having to, be a landlord from another state, dealing with management companies. So you would definitely say, don't jump into it thinking that this is just going to be, a clean ride. Just have some of those thoughts and perspectives. We do have a few people sitting in with us in the conversation. If you guys have any questions for Claudienne as it relates to getting into investing in real estate, please drop those comments in the comment section. Otherwise, we're going to head over to IG. I think that I've answered all of the questions that we received just last week, but I will double check it, make sure everyone got answered. Can I qualify for a mortgage when I have such large student loan debt? And Claudienne, I know you really didn't want to expand on that one, just because there's just like so.
What's your income?
The question was, can I even qualify for a mortgage when I have such huge student loans?
Now, can you ask them what is their income and what is the payment every month on their student loan?
No, but let's just hypothetically speak, right? Because I do have a few. You're right. So let's take a few hypothetics. I'll take some hypothetics from some of my clients, that I see with them. Let's take some hypothetics. So my average client probably has anywhere from $35,000 to $40,000 in student loan debt, right? Most of my clients are nurse, attorneys, teachers, so they have a considerable amount. Just because they're professionals, they have a lot of student loan debt. So what they find is that when they go and apply for a loan, so we're going to kind of look for a loophole, because this does represent a very large demographic of my clientele. So they have all of this student loan debt. Income may range anywhere from 75 to 100, right? But they have other debt, credit card debt, and then they got this student loan debt hanging over their head. I'm trying to think, because you're not only are you a realtor, but you're a super strategist. Like, you're a strategist, and you think outside of the typical box, which allows you to gain access to resources that are not typical. So that is typically their scenario, Claudienne. That's typically where, okay, they have decent amount of income, the credit score, ranges, but when they sit in front of a mortgage broker, they're not, because their DTI just doesn't work out. The amount of income versus their student loan debt, it is high. In some cases, they've been asked to pay off their student loan debt before they can apply for a house.
Well, then you should be sending those people to me.
I do.
You should send them to me.
Okay. Are you thinking? Because
I'm not thinking. Listen, you either got to take some time to pay your credit card debt off, Most people can't pay their student loan off in such a short bit of time.
Yeah, 40, 40, 45, $50,000, no.
So listen, either gonna create
here's what I'm thinking. Huh? What you gonna say?
Either gonna create some income or you're gonna eliminate the. You see, I would eliminate credit card debt. Interest rates are usually higher on credit cards.
Yeah, minimally 15%.
I would not be trying to tackle my student loans. I don't know anybody with an interest rate more than 3% on a student loan.
Right, but Claudienne, the reason why they have to tackle the student loans, because even sometimes I see them have lower credit card debt. Like sometimes I have some clients with very little credit card debt, but their student loan debt is so freaking high, $45,000, $50,000.
They calculate the payment, and so let's just say it was a deferment. The banks now would take 1% of the loan amount and calculate it into your mortgage. That doesn't make sense. If somebody's making $80,000 with $40,000 of student loans, they should not be paying more than $400 a month.
Right, but sometimes that messes up their DTI because they also have a car. It's just very interesting. So possibly,
that means that they have other credit cards. They have let me tell you something. These people got cars that's $1,200 in payments. How you driving a $1,200 payment car and you don't even got no house? That's crazy to me. So they're choosing.
I know what they could do. I know what they could do. Okay, I know what they could do, Claudienne. So one, I'll send them to you. Great. But here is a possibility that they can definitely do. They can fall within what you're saying, that the house that they would be purchasing would definitely not be their dream house. The property that they would be purchasing would definitely be an investment property. This would not be that, because maybe their DTI could be balanced out if they get a less expensive property. But then when I look at the average cost of a house here, $350,000, I'm thinking, but that would be some possibility for them to get in the game.
Do you know that when you buy a rental property, they don't count that payment against you?
Say it again.
If you bought a rental property,
mm-hmm.
So when you buy a house, that debt is calculated into your DTI.
Right.
When you buy an investment property, the rents should cover the mortgage. They do not debt against you.
Right. I'm with you. However,
if you have a client that has nothing but student loans for $40,000, they're not paying $800 a month, Shawnee. That just doesn't make sense.
I got like 5 of them I'm gonna send your way so we can look at it, because they've been like
Wait a minute. What is the payment for somebody who has a $40,000, $50,000 student loan debt?
I can't tell you what the average is, but a lot of times when I'm calculating the payments, probably maybe $300 to $400. A lot of them like $300 to $400.
Let's just use our common sense for a minute. We ain't got to be brainiacs here. You make $1,000 and you got a $300 payment. Something is not right. Do 80,000 divided by 12.
3 to 4.
More credit cards somewhere. And let me tell you something. They have more debt.
Let me tell you something. The person that I'm thinking 5 clients in my mind. What we're gonna do is we're gonna rehash this conversation again, and we're gonna share how we're gonna solve their problem, because I have a few of them, and that is like why they're sitting on the fence and haven't purchased a house yet.
Let me tell you.
I'm right here.
Come close.
I'm here.
Credit behavior. They need to learn how to have credit behavior.
They get that skill set from me. I'm telling you, we're gonna come back next week, or we're gonna come back the week after. And they're hanging with me. They got credit behavior. Hold on. So this is so good, because I was thinking about buying a duplex in my hometown. I think I have clarity, especially coming from us. Oh, thank you, Candace. Oh, Candace says she is one of those clients. So Candace, okay, so that $70,000 in income. Give it to me, Candace. $47,000 in student loan debt. Credit score 682.
Candace,
Help me. They told me I need to have made consistent payments on my student loans for a year, then reapply for a mortgage, which is a lot where a lot of my clients fall. Mm-hmm.
No. So she probably, Candace, did you pay that loan late sometime in the past?
Her payment is $327.
You don't need to be a brainiac to figure it out. I said that $300 to $400 a month. She's making good money. Candace has more issues. Candace probably got some car payments.
We're going to be back with Candace next week. Okay, we're going to bring 2 of my clients and we're going to do that because one thing about Candace, one thing about Candace don't have no lot of debt. Okay, Candace don't have no lot of debt. We'll talk about it. We're going to either bring her back next week or the week after based on your availability, and we're going to solve Candace's problems, okay? We're going to solve. I got a few clients that fall within that, so we should speak directly to them. Claudienne, we're going to drop your, hold on, we got another one. Should you pay off bigger bills or smaller bills when it comes to buying a house? Should you pay off smaller bills or bigger bills when it comes to buying a house? I think she's talking about debt. I think she might be talking about debt, not bills. So if you're talking about debt, the more you can lower your DTI, debt to income ratio, the better. So the bigger, the better. The bigger, the better. Yeah, the bigger, the better.
We're talking about, guys, when mortgages are calculated, they take the payments that you're making every month. So if you have a $400 payment, you want to get rid of that. If you're making, if you have a credit card where you're paying $50, maybe not so much of a concern, but you got to look at the overall picture, and then we got to give you what you need to do.
Exactly. So if you're talking about a collection, then that's a whole different conversation. We're talking about things that you're paying on a monthly basis. So if you have a car payment for $600, $700, $800, if that's something that you can work on, start eliminating it by maybe paying 2 payments a year, that will change your amortization schedule. Making bi-weekly payments can change your amortization schedule. Those are some of the things that can get that stuff down. Claudienne, we're going to drop your IG in the comment section because we're going to go over there now and finish this conversation unless you super voting. Claudienne's on a vote, guys. She's on a vote.
I'm on a yacht. Yes, I am.
All right, so we're gonna leave. We're gonna come. We're gonna hang over there. We're gonna go over there. Let's go ahead and drop that conversation. Make a payment plan for your student loans for sure. You definitely have to pay your student loans, especially if you don't want to deal with that 1%, because you don't necessarily have to deal with that 1%. If you're actually in a actual payment. So if you're in an actual payment, you don't have to do that 1%. That 1% is actually very, very high in comparisons to what it would be as your standard payment. That 1% is a reflection of you not paying at all, or if you're in that student loan repayment program and they're letting it be a 0, right? That's not what you want. You don't want a 0 in that space for your student loans, because once the mortgage broker looks at it and see a 0, you know what they're going to say? Oh, this person isn't paying, and they're going to go ahead and project you up to that 1%, whatever that 1% is. All right, so this has been a wonderful time. We're going to hang out on IG. We're going to go over there, have a very similar conversation. So if you didn't get your questions answered here, you can get them over there, okay? As always, we thank you for tuning in. We're going to be back with Candace and my other client, and we're going to solve their problems. Me and Claudienne going to solve, why haven't you bought a house, sis? All right, until next time, do something that's going to add value to your purse. Woo!